Well, of course, everybody knows about feeding the girls sugar, because that's pretty standard. But at the minute, we've got our own drama going on, because the girls have found some nectar on the bloomin' red mallee down the scrub, but there's very limited pollen supply. So I've been looking into this whole project, and of course, everybody knows about pollen paddies. But here at the Bush Bee Man, who's always pressed for time, thought he might just make some feeders and feed it to them dry out in the open. There's a bit of controversy, of course, about dry feeding and open feeding, and of course, the weaker colony won't get as much pollen as the stronger colony. But of course, if you're a stronger colony, you've got more mouths to feed, so one would assume you'd need more. Anyway, that's my opinion of it all, so we'll see what happens. So at the minute we're buying some, what are we buying? Custom bee feed that's coming in these plastic pots. I think you can get it in a bag as well, but at the moment I thought, well, the little buckets are kind of cool, I'll turn them into the feeders. So it's a bit of a bloody rough idea. So I've got a pail that the food comes in. I've got a catching bucket. I don't know, it looks like the thing you usually wash your dishes up when you went camping in, actually. Or maybe it's a Devo lid. Was it? No, they had pointy hats, didn't they? So my poor unfortunate little bloody hole saw. I think they're about $7 at the hardware shop. So, but they kind of work good for this. This is a bit of dag ass, and I suppose if I wreck it, I'll lose it or whatever else, it won't matter. Anyway, the idea is we're going to drill some holes around the bottom of our bucket so the ladies can just get in there and get hold of this bee feed. Because I've found if you actually put it in a tray out in the open, they end up with this little crust and they can't bloom and get to the food that they want. But if you have it in a bucket, there's some holes and they can sort of eat up underneath. And all the big bits fall into this. We'll stick this together. I think I've adopted this drill now. It's all good. Right, now one little trick. You don't want to drill a hole directly below here because it's going to be a problem later on. We're gonna do it into quarters. Yes, quarters. I don't know, can you have a quarter of a round? I guess you can have a quarter of a circle. But anyway, we just want to drill some holes in the bottom here. Not through the bottom, but towards the bottom. What did I do? Come on, Bush Bee Man. Go. You don't need too many holes. So I reckon about four in the gap will work. Like I said, because we're going to put a strap here in a minute, so we don't want to put it there. Because I think it was prototype 3. I think I drilled too many holes in my bucket. So anyway, you get along and get better at this sort of bodging up crap as you go, I guess. I don't think I've done that cheap ass drill any good. Oh, this is how you make a mess in your shed, isn't it? I reckon that's plenty. One there. This is not very organised. Maybe we'll put one more in there. Just get me trusty cleaning up knife. I'm not really sure where that came from, but anyway. Let's not ask too many questions. Seems pretty good, and then we'll just do the inside. Get rid of these little bits of extra plastic. So that's not going to go from there. Maybe we'll have to go this way. Not that it's really going to matter, but I just like to make it a bit clean. I guess if you had a fancy hole saw, you probably wouldn't have to clean shit up like that. I don't know. I've never had a fancy hole saw. Of course, you can make your own bee feed. I mean, it's pretty much just soy flour and other proteins mixed together. And I've done a bit of that, but goodness gracious. Actually, getting the girls to like it is a bit interesting. But if you crush up a bit of vitamin C, put it in with the mix, that seems to attract them a bit. But anyway, at the minute, I'm just buying it already made because, you know, there's only so many things a bloke can fit into a lifetime. So that's that little bit. And then all we're going to do is figure out a way to hang that pot up there so as when we hang it in the tree, it's all swinging in the breeze. I have just the thing. Here we go. Got me old bloody barbecue as my dispenser. I've got me roll hanging on the handle back here. Anyway, this is waste not, want not. I've got this laying around. I suppose you could, well, no, I'm sure you could use whatever the hell you like, but this works for me. Plus it's here, so, what's it? Availability is probably the most important thing around this farm. So, I reckon we'll do these 2 off the handle for a start. Of course, in my extremely tidy bloody workbench, I'm just wondering what the hell I did with the drill that was the right size. Oh, God, I wonder if that'll be any good. Oh, it should be. That'll have to do. Shit, I don't know. Now, one important thing to remember, I have learnt along my journey of life, when you've got a cheap-ass hole saw with all these different size bits and pieces, put the bloody thing back together. Even though it's very frustrating, put it back together every time you use it. Now, here's something you wouldn't think would happen from me, but it won't be very long down the road, and this bit will be over there, and that bit will be over here, and you won't have to. And then you go down the shop and spend another $7 and get another bloody one. So put the thing back together, and even if you don't put it away like my father-in-law would like me to do, and just throw it back on your bench, at least if it's all in the one thing, you only have to find one item, not bloody 10 or 7 or whatever the fucking is. So there's a piece of advice that you never thought would come out of my mouth, I bet you. Then of course you've got to put it away in its designated storing position, which in my workshop is about there. What we want to do, we're going to put the strap down the side of the bucket. Something like that. That'll do, that's plenty long. Now this is a bit interesting trying to drill this crap. So what I normally try to do is just jet the hole through here, because it obviously is going to go around your drill if you're not careful. I'm not sure if that's a technical term, but it's there. The reason I decided to use gutter bolts and not just be a slack ass and just get some tech screws and go is because I didn't want all the pointy bits inside the bucket. Didn't want all the pointy little tips. I suppose you could get all excited and angle grind off the tip of the jolly thing, but anyway, this is what I decided to do, so feel free to improvise. If you're wondering why I have to rub it up and down a little bit, it's because my drill's not quite the right size. So that's one on that side, and then you want one here, and then you want to find out where the middle between that. So you want 4 straps ultimately, and then we're going to hook it to that pot in a minute. That's my plan anyway. It looks a bit like an octopus, doesn't it? It's got too many eyes though. Anyway, the idea is we're going to put it in this to catch the crumbs. The theory is that it goes in here, then that dangles above it. So you just want to get that. So basically it's going to be sitting about there. I reckon if we put a little text mark on that, once we put it on the side to drill the hole, we'll be in all sorts of strife. Now if you've actually gone down and you've got this, don't get too carried away because this is fairly brittle plastic and it will split on you. So just be a bit patient with it. Especially if you've got a super sharp drill like mine. Cool, so we'll just wriggle a little bit through there so we can get our hole in that. So then we're going to put our little bolts through our holes. Strap on there. There. Hopefully I don't run out of bolts here. I think I might just have the right amount, which will be good. Otherwise the cameraman would be most annoyed if we have to go for a drive to the shop and then come back to put the last few in. And then we just want to get the other side kind of even. It's kind of even. Is that kind of even? Does that look even to you? I want it to be a bit aesthetically pleasing. Anyway, that's a bit of a rough little design. Heck, hang on, what have I done? I thought I'd wrecked it. And then we're going to go and we're going to hang, that's so I can hang that in the tree. And the ladies can come in here and go and have a little bit of feed. Because that's only if they need some pollen. Like, and of course then you could have I guess I was just thinking now, I guess I could actually have this container if I got really motivated. I could actually bloom and put my sugar water in there with some, what are they called? Corks. And then the ladies could go in there and they could actually dig the sugar water in the tree. Maybe I'll try that as well another day. But anyway, today that's not what we're doing. Because today they've actually got some nectar. They're just really finding it hard to get the pollen. So And pollen, of course, as you know, is their protein. So, you know, they're out having a coat, but they need some chips to go with it, otherwise they get bored. At least the weather's a bit more respectable. Anyway, there's only a few little reconnaissance bees that we brought down earlier, and I thought I'd just show you where my feeder idea started, because I was down here trying to give these ladies a bit of blooming pollen substitute, and the only thing I had in my car was an old flower pot. So as you can see, they're in here and they're digging away at their feed. And I'll show you, see how they get up here and they can get all the fine stuff, and then they end up with this heavier gear that they can't carry off. So that's what my thought was, if they could burrow it up underneath, the heavy stuff will fall out. However, that was my emergency introduction to this idea. Of course, I bloody had it sitting on some sticks so they could get in there, and they seem to like it. So we'll just go and get our bucket feeder out of the ute and a bit of string, and we'll hang it in the tree over here, and then let the girls get reorientated. Oh, crap. We'll have a new bucket soon. So we'll take that one. So this is our fancy new feeder, which might be a bit flashier than my flower pot, one would hope. Mind you, I don't think the girls would really give a shit, would they? As long as they get fed. A little bit of hanging up going on. I think that looks like a pretty good height to me. Let's tie that around there like that. Yeah, there looks pretty good. We've got a bit of height, and we also can get at it. Anyway, we'll leave a bit of string here so it's adjustable. Ooh. So we might as well use that, tip it in here and move them away from that container in the pot, and they can figure that out. Then we'll tip this in our new feeder. Not completely ideal, but it works. It's a bit easy. Rightio. So the plan is that this is a sort of a upgraded flower pot. So then the ladies come here and they scratch along, and they can actually, as they're scratching all the coarse stuff drops into our catcher. I don't really know whether I tried mixing some of it up, so we'll go and have a look and see how that got on. And maybe, I mean, of course you can put your paddies in your hives and all the rest of it, but anyway, this is a bit of a community feeding. They could all come out and have a little bit of a community party. And if it rains, of course, the lid's going to keep it dry in there, and it's only going to get what's wet in here. I got all excited with the first one I made and drilled holes in the bottom so as it could drain out. But anyway, it didn't bloody matter, because this stuff, the feed, got stuck in the holes and bloody made it stick there anyway. So I figure, oh well, I don't bother drilling holes anymore. But maybe you should have one big hole in the middle or something. So this is my first model. As you can see, I didn't get the thing quite square with my straps, but anyway, the principle's the same. I reckon there's about 3 or 4 days ago we had this about more than half full, and hell, they've churned through that, so they're looking for this stuff like you wouldn't believe. The interesting thing about feeding bees substitute pollen, apparently back in the day, this all started because if you were a beekeeper and you actually had to be near a dairy farm, the bees used to go and steal all the feed off the soy powders and the chaff and shit that they were feeding the cows. So that was where this whole concept came from. So at least this way you don't have to get suited up when you feed your bees. As long as we don't crush anybody. We're not going to give them this whole bucket full, because this is my last bucket, so I'm going to have to order some more. They're definitely enjoying this idea. Anyway, if we hang around for a little bit, you'll be surprised what you see in a minute. Getting to be a bit of a ritual. I think these blokes in here think I've got a bit of a sweet tooth anyway, but still, I've never really told them what I'm up to. Most of the girls don't give a shit though. There you go. I think it's about time I got myself a little 1,000 litre shuttle. But anyway, this is good fun for an outing. Brum, brum. Yeah. The girls are hungry. This is a bit of driving skill. This is always a bit of fun on the hill here. We might just leave it here and let it run off down the street. So I thought we might just have a little comparison about healthy choices. Some bloke got some apples, some bloke got some licorice, all sorts. So me, I got a sweet tooth, so I think I'm in trouble. If you've ever wondered, some people just aren't cut out for manual labour. One of my helpers just dropped a bag of sugar on the ground, so here we go again. I'll have to embarrass myself and go buy one more. Anyway, I shouldn't get upset with free help. Here's a poor little wounded soldier. We were sweeping our sugar up off the side of the road where this was spilt, and the bloke come along and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "That's all right, the girls won't mind." But I forgot to mention the girls I was talking about was my bees, so I think he reckons I'm a little rough. But anyway, we'll make ourselves some syrup and keep the ladies fed. Oh my goodness, eh? Up and down the road like a bloody yo-yo. Looks like we had a bit more rain down here again. Oh heck! Maybe we'll be able to get into the scrub yet. Well, I don't think it goes down too far, but still. Oh God, my back's getting old. Anyway, we're down here with our little feeding exercise going on. And we've got a few hives here that are a bit weaker than the stronger hives, so we're probably going to put a feeder inside the hive so they can get a bit of a boost along and don't have to fight for the ladies next door. Hope we brought a jug. We did bring a jug, didn't we? We had a jug the other day. We came down here to do this the other day and it rained its arse off. So that changed our along. Where's my jug gone? Okay, well we get ourselves the jug. That might save us a bit of a drama. So I think lifting up 20 litres and pouring it in one of these little holes might be interesting. Could be a bit of fun. Look at that, the rough prick hadn't even gone and got the other dolly cone in there yet. But anyway, it seemed to work fine with just one. Anyway, I don't know if everybody remembers, but these were the feeders we used when we bought the little package bees the other year. So that's just one version. This is like you pop in instead of a frame, you take your frames out and just pop that in inside your box. Got me trusty jug, pour your sugar in and shut the lid. And the girls can, I suppose I better show you that bit in case you can't find the other one. The girls can run down this little cone. So the girls can run down there. And of course, as the sugar syrup goes down, they can go climb down a little bit further until they get to the bottom. And then they shouldn't have to worry about, well, they don't have to fight the neighbours for it. And the other one that's really cool, maybe slightly more expensive, but still, depends how many hives you've got. These are really good because if your bees are a little bit psycho, you don't actually have to get into the brood box. Like these are actually, you're going to have exposed frames and the bees are going to be there. These you're going to feed on the top and you don't have to actually see the bees really, except for a few that are in here. And so you can probably do that without putting your suit on if you're a bit scaredy cats, but still. Anyway, and there is a cheap ass bottle one somewhere or other, but being that we've got a bit of an ant issue going on, I don't usually use them, but if you haven't got any ants, there's a cheap option for you. Yep. Oh, out. Let's move that out. At least me smoker's working. Oh, boy. I've just got me trusty little notebook. I've got it all slack now. I used to have a diary, but it got such a pain in the ass because I'm a little bit like I'm not there every day. So I thought, well, maybe I've transitioned into just a flat out, just a little notebook. So I write my dates in because I used to cross the jolly diary dates out. Well, that's a bit stupid. So I just write them in here this way. So we just got a little bit of starting our winter checks and a little bit of sugar feeding And then, of course, we'll take a few more notes when we get into the hive and see what we've got. My Uncle Wes wouldn't think this is much chop. He used to say, good country after a rain will stick to your boots. Like he meant up the side of your boots. So anyway, don't think he'd think much of this dirt. But anyway, here we go, ladies. What's going on? Little puff for you. Little puff for you. And we'll take our sort of half a lid off. Oh dear. There we go. Righty-o, Camry Crow. If you're wondering what a Camry Crow happens to be, there's a car down here called a Camry, and they happen to sponsor a football team called the Crow, so I'm guessing that's what that was about. Right, are we ready for the big reveal? Let's have a look what's going on. So I reckon we've got about 4 frames of bees going on in here, so we'll just have a bit of a look whether how much competition has been going on. Oh, look at that. Well, I've got a little bit excited here, made a little patch, and then got a little tiny bit of honey in the middle of it. And we'll pop that down there. Let's have a look what else we got going on here. What are you up to, chickie babes? They're nibbling away on their stores here. So they're not over stored up. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to give them a little bit of a boost along. Yeah, so they won't hurt. They're looking quite happy. They're not looking sleepy, so that's good. I'll just make sure she's not here. But we'll sit it there for a second, and I'm just going to grab the rubber bands out the bottom. I don't know if you can see, but this is where they nibbled at the rubber band. See how they nibbled away there till they eventually got rid of it, and then they dropped it on the bottom of their box. And sometimes, well, you can see the ones out the front. I think I dragged some of them out, but the girls got rid of the rest. So yeah, have a look at that. So that's the advantage of rubber bands over string. Yep, so she's laying a bit. They're still using their old comb. You don't want to get carried away overfeeding them, because, I mean, these guys aren't going to go off their chops, but if they're strong enough, you just want to get them healthy for winter. You don't want to get them insanely breathing their asses off and then all of a sudden you stop feeding them. And then you're probably creating more problems. So just have a look at the last one. So I'm still building this one out. And the boss just ran around the back. There she is. Really good, very good. So if we put all the frames back where they were and take one out, or probably 2 out, I don't know, we'll see. I can't remember how many that feeders take up, but we'll bring the feeder over here. Just wait there. We're just going to need to take the 2 frames out to accommodate our in-hive feeder, and that'll just sit in there like that, and the girls can run down there and get some sugar and build up a bit. Of course, you didn't bring it today, but you can also put a little bit of pollen patty on the top as well, if you're not open feeding pollen. I don't know, there's a whole lot of controversy about whether, well, everybody puts pollen patties in here, but we haven't doing that today, but that's another project. Anyway, we'll go and put some sugar in our feeder, and we'll make our way along the boxes here. The girls are waking up from the smoke. There you go, chickie babes. You'll enjoy that. Look at that. Breakfast on tap. Right. I think that's been pretty good. It's interesting though, you can really tell the difference, like with the weaker girls, which is what we were saying earlier, that they put their feed inside. The girls over here, because they're a bit stronger, they're blooming rocking on, so they're breeding like crazy, which is good, which is just what you want. So they should winter really nicely. hopefully we give these a couple of weeks, a couple of feeds here and there. I mean, this is our little swarms that we've caught. That's why they're over here by themselves. So it's interesting, of course, if you've only got one hive and you're in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't really matter much. But being that we've got different strength at different times, we're just trying to bolster up these little colonies. And that's when in-house feeding gets really bloomin' comes into its own. So, you know, the cool thing about beekeeping, at least these days, you've got a fair few different options. And so, yeah, just monitor your ladies, just see if they're hungry, and maybe consider giving them some feed from sugar. Don't forget the pollen either when you're at this game. Anyway, there's some sugar feeding for you.